Moving on, I would like to invite a veteran who's personally an inspiration to me and thousands of young developers in the real estate industry, Dr. Hiranandani ji, Vice Chairman Naredco India and co-founder of Hiranandani Group, to speak to us on the evolution of Mumbai and his vision on Mumbai 3.0. A loud round of applause, please. All yours.
Very good afternoon to each and every one of you. I'm really grateful to Abhishek Gupta. Thank you very much for the detailed statistics. It's a wonderful thing that I see which came from him. Most of us developers don't actually do market study when we really go for development. And then you say that sales do not take place. So only when you get proper, accurate statistics from people like Abhishek and we really do a market study, then believe you me that the number of housing which have to be absorbed will all get sold. So thank you, Abhishek, for all the detailed statistics that you have been able to give and the analysis of those statistics, which is, I think, equally important. Mr. Shankar Deshpande has actually is a saver of Mumbai, because what MMRDA is doing is something we have to actually pray to them that the work that they are taking up will actually take off. There was about 45 years ago, a decision was taken that Mumbai should not have any commercial spaces. And commercial spaces were banned from Mumbai. And that was a time which happened. And at that point of time, the city of Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Gurgaon took off. So actually, we got a setback in terms of Mumbai's development, in terms of rapidity of infrastructure and others. The second thing which Mr. Deshpande alluded was about the cost as far as that is concerned. And that is extremely important because on one side, we got Abhishek talking about affordability, and the other side, we talked about the aspiration. Got to bring both of these together. The affordability is needed because if you make it too expensive, then other cities will actually compete to win the race. So we really have to bring together both these aspects of it. And the wonderful story that we really have today is something which I'm very, very delighted about. Look at what Mumbai, Maharashtra government is now targeting to do in the next 3 or 4 years. And I'm just trying to patch it together. Mr. Shankar Deshpande would be able to do it much better than I do because they are the ones who actually planned it and aspirationally do. We are going to bring in between Western Railway, Central Railway, and Harbour Line, we have 190 kilometers in the last 50 years. They are going to add 300 kilometers of metro in the next 5 years. I repeat, from 190 kilometers, addition of 300 kilometers in the next 5 years. You're going to add the Cross Harbour Bridge, the MTHL corridor, which is going to add, as he showed on the plan, but let me tell you, you're going to get land equivalent to half the land of Mumbai empty between Panvel and Karjat in the entire MIMI region. I repeat, half the land of Mumbai city, as described by them, will be now available for development between landing on MTHL and up to Karjat corridor. In order to bring the connectivity to this area, the railways are going to extend the central railway line from Panvel to Karjat. So you will have a suburban railway line going up to Karjat. So that's the addition which is going to make a difference. Again, both of them alluded to the fact that we are getting an airport. That airport is only 30 years behind, but nevertheless, Mr. Adani, Gautam Adani himself has said that he's going to be, before the end of 24, the airport will be operational. So the target of a cross, besides recently they have announced, MMRD announced, an elevated corridor between Chirle and the Mumbai-Pune Expressway of 2,000 crores or 3,000 crores of rupees, which means like you have the elevated freeway on the central side coming from BPT up to Wadala, you're going to have another elevated line which will come after Chirle at the thing, which will come up to the Western Express Island. We are also having the coastal road of Mumbai. It's not on this side, but that's going to be an important connectivity. And Mr. Gadkari has just committed that that will be connected up to Virar on the other side. And both Mr. Mr. Gadkari and our Deputy Chief Minister has committed that the Mumbai-Nasik highway will get completed. What does it actually mean as far as city is concerned? It means that we will now get enough land which will now first time be available for Mumbai city. What happened in the last 60 years? Just look at the reverse example. We have, unfortunately, the position wherein 50% of the people living in Mumbai, not people sitting in this audience, including myself, living in jhopatpattis. Can you imagine a city which is the richest city in India with aspirational people living in jhopatpattis, 90% of them having jobs, who can afford a 200 square feet flat because now loans are available. The lowest interest rates is what you mentioned. And if you have this land opened out, we can eliminate every slum because more than 50% of the people living in slums can pay the deposit and can pay the EMI if given a loan for 30 years. And if they come under the PMAY scheme, they don't even have to borrow that much. So in reality, the situation in the next 5 years is going to have a complete change of operations in the Mumbai region, thanks to both these factors. A, what Mr. Deshpande mentioned of aspirational for Mumbaikars, Maharashtrians, Indians, who will then be aspirational to move into a house which you will build over there in this sector of their entirety, and also that you will make it affordable, because irrespective of the inflation cost which you really have to face, you will have the opportunity to go into the scale of operation which is going to be unprecedented. I want to give you an example of what we talked about in terms of volumes. When I went into Powai, we were just one developer, Hiranandani. Now we have 20 large developers in. When I went to Thane on Godbandar Road, we were 2 developers, myself and Brahman. Vijayanagari. Vijayanagari wasn't there, came later. Only Brahman. Brahman and ourselves was the only 2 developers making multi-storied houses, means 7-storied, on whole of Godbandar Road, and it was only a 2-lane road. It was thanks to various people who ultimately added infrastructure. Today, Thane has a 14-lane road with flyovers on every junction. We have a metro connectivity. MMRDA is now going to put a tunnel under to connect Thane to Borivali. You're also going to get a coastal road which will go across the river on stilts, because the environmental clearance said that you have to put it on stilts rather than reclamation of any of the lands which are taking place. You will now get a metro connectivity not only up to Gaimukh, but up to Mira Road or Borivali. What am I trying to picturize? I'm trying to say that these 2 parts of Mumbai, what Balasaheb wanted the slums to get eliminated, as well as the aspirational people of Mumbai, for the first time, the 2 stories which we talked about, both Abhishek and Shankar Deshpande Sahib said, can now be put together thanks to regions like your area. Now, if we can get this infrastructure into place, you will then be able to uplift and bring all these aspects of it into fruition, and we will all be able to do development and get all these people to do. And you will be doing a service to society. Instead of builders being a bad word, builders will be a great word, because you will suddenly do an aspirational mode and an affordable mode, which anyway you are doing today in the area that the operations are taking place. So we all have to meet government, in fact, through the MMRDA, Metropolitan Commissioner is coming here just now. We have to request him that, sir, we will take care of all the other aspects of it, but you help us to build the infrastructure and give us the necessary infrastructure access to this whole thing. All the rest of the work we will do in terms of doing the internal infrastructure of the place, as well as provide all the other facilities which we can do, whether it's in terms of schools, whether it's in terms of hospitals, and whether it's in terms of other social infrastructure, which I'm sure all you developers will be able to do, as many of the developers have done in Mumbai. So there is no reason for that. So I wanted to share with you that the story of the last 60 years, we should not start looking at the rear view mirror. Let's look and drive forward and say, what is the aspirational mode? We should request the government to shift the capital from Mumbai to, say, Navi Mumbai, Panvel, and other areas. The High Court of Mumbai should shift. The central corridors should shift. As Mr. Shankar Deshpande correctly said, where the airport is coming, you also have a seaport, you have water transport, you will have the corridor, you have the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, you will have all the destinations which could come over here. And just like Prime Minister Modi is making his Parliament House and other things to do, maybe the entire capital, which is now South Mumbai, could actually shift over here. So maybe that aspirational mode, which Mr. Shankar Deshpande, heading the country and town planning, can actually think of a new capital for Mumbai and Maharashtra, which could be in this region. And you could make it the best capital probably in the whole of Asia, if not India. And actually, once you do that and you shift this entire thing, you can solve the issue of jhopatpattis permanently, because we have enough land to take place in this whole thing. So our aspiration model should be Balasaheb Thackeray, and I signed the policy of slum rehabilitation. I drafted, along with Mr. Afzal Purkar, the policy of elimination of slums in Maharashtra. Now there is a time where the government can actually eliminate jhopatpattis from Maharashtra, from Mumbai, entire region, including Dharavi. I'm sure they will take it off. And we should aspire to create your center into an aspirational, affordable center, which will also draw, the last to add, and the most important of all, the creation of job markets. And we as developers don't think about it as much, but it's extremely important to think about it. So whether it's an IT center, whether it is commercial areas, whether it is going to be, we are putting up data centers in Panvel. The largest is now put up, Tier 4 data center is put up by Yota, our company in Panvel, and all these other items. So we need to create centers of gravity. And there my request is to MMRDA, MSRDC, and the Government and Planning Authority to create 20 such centers. One could be the Aeropolis, like is in Delhi, which would be the hotel, commercial, industrial, exhibition complexes which can be created, an IT complex which can be created, a pharmaceutical research area, an educational complex that can be created. So all these could be centers of gravity that will actually bring jobs to Maharashtra and Mumbai. A financial center, which we could think of, Tara reminds me of that. So all these things could be created, but unless you don't create these magnets over there, Alibag, for example, can become a tourist destination because we have about 2 5-star hotels. In the same area in Goa, we have 40 5-star hotels. In the area of Raigad that you have, the area of the thing, and with the beaches that we have, we could create at least 35, 40 hotels over there, create it into a tourism area, and instead of people wanting to go to Goa, we could have enough destinations to do it. So the last part is extremely important because we as developers don't think that you need to create jobs. You can then travel to Mumbai by the trains provided by MMRDA. Because one of the other things which Mr. Shankar Deshpande alluded to was the new concept of work from home or work from near home, or for people who are entrepreneurs or startups to be able to do it. For that, you need to create a quality of life. You can't only think of the lowest end over there. If I had made Powai into a low end, if I'd made Thane into a low end, everybody else in the area would also have become a low end area. So we need to create islands of excellence, commercial, residential, industrial, warehousing, all the other things, retail, shopping areas and plazas, which we need to concentrate and do it. Could be a small one. You don't have to make it as big as Mumbai. But if each of these centers, including Karjat, Neral area, you could provide small centers where centers of gravity could be created, commercial and otherwise, to do it. But I think congratulations to each and every one of you for the idea that you have brought. Thanks very much to MMRDA for the extra infrastructure which is being done and speedily done, which is now. And we can see that array thing is taking off, and I must congratulate the government for this particular move which has happened. So I think the future is wonderful. I hope at 72, I will be able to be there 5 years hence, which will actually see the glory of what the Mumbai metropolitan region will be there. And I'm sure your center will become the hallmark of something which is be great for the future. So thank you very much. Please thank Metropolitan Commissioner and the government for the wonderful work that is being done, and communicate on behalf of Naredco and all of us in this conference of today. And looking forward to meet up to all of you again and again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insights. So what I'm going to take home is up north is going to be the new south, especially your presence now that there is